Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today we're talking about 47 Meters Down, Uncaged. So 47 Meters Down, Uncaged is the sequel to 47 Meters Down. It actually has literally nothing to do with the first film other than the fact that there's sharks in it. This one has no returning characters or storylines or anything like that. So basically this one is about a group of teenage girls that want to go down and explore this underground cave system that's filled with Mayan ruins, like ritualistic things. And they realize that there are blind sharks down there that want to eat them. As you can know from the trailers and looking at it, it is a very, very cheesy movie. I kind of actually enjoyed the first 47 Meters Down. I felt like the characters were a little interesting. The concept itself was simple and tight enough that it felt compelling. The claustrophobicness of it, being trapped under there when it breaks and they're down at the bottom. The two characters communicating with each other. You felt like a bond, like they're trying to survive. You really are rooting for them. This one, the characters are more like cannon fodder. They don't really matter. They try to flesh out some interesting things with especially the main character Mia in the beginning of the film, fitting in with bullying and her family and everything like that, but then it just never really materializes. It feels like it's shoehorned in, like we're trying to make this movie feel interesting, relatable, and serious, but it just isn't. And that's the thing about this movie. It's almost hard for me to review because the beginning quarter of the film seems like it really wants to be taken seriously, and then it just goes fully off the rails, and I actually enjoyed it when it just was like, okay, we're not following any rules. None of this makes sense. This is just stupid shark movie. I liked it. And it should have just embraced that from the beginning and just threw out. When I say that it's a stupid shark movie that doesn't follow any rules, I really, really mean that. I mean, the laws of physics don't apply to this film. The laws of nature don't apply to this film. And that's totally fine. And I actually found it slightly entertaining just because of how much it just clearly did not care about the filmmaking process. So for one, there is a scene that I literally laughed out loud in the theater, and then multiple times the rest of the movie called back to my mind and giggled to myself. A fish literally screams at them. They go into this little cave, they go into this little area of the cave where they see this fish, and it's kind of setting up how bioluminescence work and how clear fish are underwater and they're blind and everything, setting you up for the sharks. And it turns at them and screams at them. I have no idea how that works, but I thought that was just hilarious. I don't know when they filmed it how they thought that was going to come off. I'm hoping they thought it was supposed to be funny because it really was. And it sets off this chain of events that unleashes the sharks. They break some pillars, trap themselves down under the water. And it's so stupid because they had so many other opportunities to pull something off. They had the idea of currents under the water, the idea of, them running out of air, things like that. And they go with a fish screaming at them to really set everything off. Speaking of following the rules of physics, they're able to talk perfectly fine underwater to each other. No explanation of why. There's no radios, nothing in their ears, no reason why they should hear each other. They literally scream to each other and scream to find one another. And that's another thing, is this movie really wants to get you with jump scares. That's really all it has. It has a little bit of creepiness to it, but it mostly relies entirely on jump scares. And a lot of them call into a part where a character's screaming to find another character, whereas the girl trying to find her father or friends, and while she's screaming and spinning around, a shark pops out. And that's really all they rely on. It got me really good a couple times, I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of susceptible to jump scares, but it is pretty lazy. As far as the sharks themselves, they look okay. I think they looked a little bit better in the first 47 Meters Down. And yeah, this one, it's interesting the fact that they're blind, they're all scarred up, they're kind of interesting to look at. But the weird thing about it is they're great white sharks in this little tiny narrow cave system that I don't know how on earth they would survive under there. There's no food, there's nothing for them to really survive on, and then they just kind of lurk around. And that's one thing that I kind of hate about shark movies. It's when they make them like sneaky sharks that are just slowly creeping through and they just find people and then all of a sudden they attack. And I mean, I don't know, it just seems silly that these big ominous creatures are just like hovering in the background and they're coming up on them and they're sneaking up on, I don't know. It just seems silly, especially this whole movie relies a lot on sound and the fact that, the sharks can't see anything because they're blind, so there's sound bouncing around, they're splashing and things like that. I don't know, just overall, the whole concept of sound in this movie didn't seem to be utilized really well. It felt like it was supposed to be a key component, and then it kind of breaks its own rules, or it doesn't really make sense for the majority of the film. There's one scene in particular, and I know this may come off a little nitpicky. I mean, I know at the end of the day, this is kind of a stupid monster movie, and I am being a little nitpicky about it, but I feel like 47 Meters Down, the original, did it better. And there's a scene in particular in this film where they come to this little area where they come up in this pocket of they can see the sky, like a little pocket area where the cave they can come out from, and they're trying to get out. And the whole sequence involving that scene was so stupid. Like, we were just watching people get murdered, people get massacred by these sharks. They pop up in the water and they're like, "Oh yeah, how's it going?" They're all like happy and jovial, like nothing happened. and they're trying to climb up. They're panicking. They do stupid stuff. This movie has a lot of that horror trope stuff of characters doing dumb things, and that's why bad things happen. But, you know, all this happens, and you can tell this whole area is so poorly rendered in CG, especially when they're looking up at the sky. And there's a moment where a character's hanging from the top, and it looks ridiculous, and she falls down, and just a lot of that stuff. They felt like they built a lot of these scenes around that's all it was about. This is just, we want this scene in this movie. We're going to find some way to work the story so we can have this scene in it. In particular, they go underwater, and there's flashing of the light, kind of like what you saw in the original film with the flare, which I thought was a really cool scene when she's trying to come to the top and shooting the flare gun, and you see the sharks coming. I thought that looked really cool, and they try to replicate that in this film, and I just don't think it works as well. And like I said earlier in the video, you have no connection to these characters, so you have no connection to these characters, so they're just there to be eaten by the sharks. You're here to be entertained, people getting attacked by sharks, and they do that for the most part. There's some really gruesome ways that these sharks attack people, and I thought they handled that fairly well. The end scene, it just goes so off the rails after the first 30 minutes of the film, and I can't lie, I enjoyed it, but it's just really not a great movie. It's hard for me to come to grips with it, because it's almost like a guilty pleasure. I'm watching it, I'm laughing at how ridiculous that just everything going on is, that I'm almost enjoying myself. So it skirts that line fairly close to being so bad it's good for me. So it's just tough to gauge it. So on one hand, I feel like for entertainment value, I'd give this movie almost a 7 out of 10. But then for quality-wise, I feel like it's closer to the 3.5, 4 range. So I think I'm going to split the difference, and I'm going to give this movie a 5 out of 10. Like I said, if you go into it and you're just fully embracing the just ridiculous, just dumbness of the movie, you can really have a good time with it, I'm not going to lie. But if you go into it expecting it to be serious, expecting the tension and quality of the first film, which I actually really liked, or something along the lines of Crawl. Crawl is a movie that handles this type of genre really well and fairly seriously, and the fact that this movie, it just doesn't, and it's closer to something on the Sci-Fi Channel than it is something like Jaws. So yeah, if you're going in expecting, I think you have a lot of fun, but if you're going into it expecting it to be Jaws, or even The Shallows, or even the first 47 meters down, you're gonna leave pretty disappointed. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and let me know, how did you feel about 47 meters down Uncaged? If you saw it, did you like it as much as the first one? Did you like it more? How does it rank for shark movies for you? Just put those comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.